Welcome to the Moth Folk Studio podcast. I'm Suni, and I'm here to share with you about all of the crafty, creative, artsy things that I've been up to lately. I have shifted my little beginning catchphrase from this week to lately because I have not been able to be consistent with my schedule whatsoever. I think that it's sort of to be expected, and I kind of warned everybody that with summertime and farmers market starting that it was going to be hard for me to keep up with a weekly schedule. And then I thought maybe I can do bi-weekly, and that's sort of gone the wayside as well. So here we are today. Thank you for joining me. I'm really happy to be here and share with you about what's been going on, and also just like pretty excited about some of the projects that I have going on right now, especially spinning progress that I've been getting better at. These socks that I'm working on, I'm feeling pretty confident with, and maybe I'll start finishing some other projects if I can get into it enough. I want to start today with acquisitions because despite going through and organizing all of my stash and feeling like I had a sense of what I have and what I need, I bought quite a bit of material this past couple of weeks, and I guess I'm feeling a little bit guilty about it, but it's sort of like guilty pleasure feeling. These are things that I have plans for, and even though, yes, I probably could have knit from stash, the stash that I have specific ideas for. And part of my goal and reason in going through all of my stash and creating this little organization project here, which I wish you could see better from this angle. I'm sorry, it's like on the side. But anyway, the reason that I really went through that was because I wanted to know what I had and assign different quantities or yarns to projects that I had in mind. So now that I've completed that, I'm like, oh, okay, this is what I need for other things that I'm working on. And mostly it's like Christmas socks or that kind of thing, although I did definitely have a splurge acquisition purchase this week, and I'll tell you about that one last. All right, let me show you what I've gotten. Okay, so first is something that you've heard about before, and that is my Sorella yarn. This has come in. I ordered it at the end of May, and of course it just took some processing time, but here it is, and I'm really happy about this. I cannot wait to make socks with this yarn, and I just love the colors. They're very subtle. This is the colorway V&A Museum, and then this is Rainy Day on the Thames. So it's a little sock set. It's a nylon sock set, so it's 75-25% superwash merino and then nylon. I have no urgency to make socks out of this particular set, but I know that when the time comes, I'm gonna get right into it. I do think that this yarn would look absolutely lovely in a linen stitch, but because I want to make socks, I'm probably just gonna do something with like a contrasting cast on and then a really simple sock with a contrast heel or toe, maybe, depending on what strikes my fancy when I work on them. But this is here. I'm really excited, and you know, I'd been deciding between this colorway or a darker green when I ordered, and I have to say, like, I'm so excited about this because as soon as I opened it, I was like, I am so happy I didn't get the green, which is the best feeling when you get yarn and you are like deciding between two and then it arrives and you're like, oh, yes, that's what I wanted. So here it is. Very excited. Socks to come. No urgency. You may not see this for a while. Or maybe you'll see it next week because I kind of can't wait. But I have to wait because I have to get through gift knits in time for the holidays before I start on personal knits like socks. The next yarn that I got is sock yarn as well, but this is a gift knit yarn for the holidays for a friend of mine. So it is Sweet Georgia Tough Love Sock. This is an 80% superwash merino and then 20% nylon, and this is in the colorway Twilight. It's just like very nice purples and kind of like aqua teals. And I think that this is going to make a lovely sock. Just something very simple, basic, but quite pretty with the fades of colors going on in here. I also got these two very cute little yarn balls from, this is the Fiber Company, and this is Lore. So this is 100% Kent lamb's wool, and this one is the colorway Ambitious, and this one is Passionate. So I actually didn't look at all of the colorways, but it looks like they are named after kind of like emotion or mood states, which is cool. They're each 25 grams, and they are perfect for a little gift knit for my aunt for the holidays. She loves anything berries, so I am going to knit a little like strawberry pouch out of this. Also, side note, a few videos back when I was going through sort of everything that I've made for my parents over the years as best as we could scrounge them up, I had a pair of socks that I knit for my dad, and I said that I couldn't remember what yarn it was made out of, except that I knew there was like a little building on the label. And in going back to the yarn store, look what's on this label. So this is Fiber Company Lore, and the yarn that I used for my dad's socks is the same yarn. It just came in a full skein quantity of like 100 grams or probably 50 grams instead of these little minis. My next acquisition is some spinning fiber, because I will get to more of the spinning stuff soon, but this is the merino fiber that I got to try out. I really like it. It is quite lofty, like way loftier than I had even realized it could be, but lovely to work with. I forget what the colorway is, and I'm not even sure that there was a colorway associated. This is just from my local yarn store. The owner dyes and puts together quantities of fiber and in varying breeds and colors and weights and everything. So I grabbed this one because I was really into the colors. No surprise there. I'll tell you more about this when we get to the spinning portion. Okay, I almost forgot about one other acquisition that I told you I would tell you at the end, and then I forgot to because it's not physically in front of me yet. So on, what's today? Wednesday? On Tuesday morning, Junction Fiber Mill released the Savage Heart Farms yarn for this year. So if you follow along with Junction Fiber Mill and their millcast, Peg has a flock of sheep, Corriedale sheep, in a few colors or really ages, and she has just spun up and released her yarn for the season, and I got some. I'm so excited. I was kind of like, can I get it? Should I get it? Do I deserve to get it? All of these feelings and thoughts when I ordered, and I decided I want it. I have a pattern that I will use this for. I think it's going to be beautiful. It will honor the yarn. I'm going to try to get it because they'd been warning on their millcast, like, it might sell out in like 3 minutes. So if you want it, you need to be on the site and ready to go. So that was also stressful. But I was on the site and ready to go at 10 a.m. and I ordered, I ordered 5 skeins of the sort of medium color and then 1 skein of the lighter color. Maybe I have pictures up if I can find them. They're not on the website anymore, so hopefully they're there. Anyway, I got these, and with this yarn, I am planning to make a Harriet sweater by Lay Knit. Despite my crankiness around color work, I'm very excited about this sweater, and I think that it's going to be okay. It's a big enough gauge, and just like a portion of the sweater is color work, that I think it's going to be all right. My big question is, did I get enough yarn to make a size that I want to? And I think yes. I really do like the look of the bigger sleeves on this pattern, especially in the sample photos, but I don't have that willowy physique that I think the model does. So I'm planning to do a size that will fit my bust and then adapt larger arms and maybe make it a little bit cropped. So all of those things together, I think that the amount of yarn that I got should be fine. And Worst case, it's just going to be really cropped, but I think it'll still be really cute. Special yarn, warm, beautiful. I'm so excited. I'm going to share more about that when the yarn actually comes in, but I do have this crazy idea, which is that I would love to have that sweater done in time for Vermont Sheep and Wool, which is early October. I don't know if that's realistic. That would require me to like hunker down and get some stuff done. In particular, my heirloom quilt cardigan, because I've said that I do not want to start another sweater until that one is done. Spoilers, before we get into WIPs, I have not made any progress on it since we've talked about it last, but I'm definitely churning and thinking like, yeah, if I want to start this other sweater in time, I need that one done. I need to feel like it's in a good spot to wear it for, because I was thinking that that would be my like Rhinebeck sweater this year, or whatever sweater I wear to the festivals. Oh, I need a sip of tea. I'm getting a little too excited. I know that I can knit a sweater like that in a month. I know that I have that in me, but it's also kind of like, do I have that in me right now in August? And no, probably not. However, I think that as soon as those first like crisp, cool mornings hit, usually they're coming in like 2 weeks. We're gonna start having cooler mornings where I'm like, ooh, I can like go sit on my back patio again, because again, spoilers, I have not been able to sit out there in weeks. It is just hot and all of my plants are having a rough time. It's not even that they haven't been watered, it's just that the like slates of the patio have absorbed so much heat that it is baking everything out there. That's a whole other thing to talk about and think about, but I need to figure out a way to prevent that for next year. Okay, back to my sweater and yarn projects. I know that in theory I can do it. Will I do it? Who knows? I've also been focusing a lot lately. I guess we're just sort of getting into WIPs now. I've been focusing a lot lately on gift knits and thinking about the holidays, because I want to make everybody socks this year, which is not an unrealistic goal, but it's definitely one that I need to be working towards if I want it to happen. And it is happening. So I have a pair of socks, and I guess this is also finished objects, and then we'll get into WIPs. We're a little out of the routine today, but that's okay. So these are my finished objects to share with you today. These are socks that I knit for my friend for Christmas time. They are knit out of the Bad Sheep yarn Butterfly PT colorway in sport weight. So just a reminder, I am an affiliate for Bad Sheep Yarn. If you are interested in getting some yarn from them, I do recommend it. They have great colorways for socks. I thought that these ones just looked like summertime, like melted ice cream at the pool kind of vibes. I don't know, it really does remind me of summer vacations as a kid and like summer reading programs, going to the pool. It has little bits of yellow and pink and blue and green and white overall. There is a little bit of, well, there's significant color pooling for sure, but I don't mind it at all. I think that it's kind of fun and adds this stripy swirl. Some of their yarns have more of that and some have less, but I am happy with these, and they are going to be great for holiday gift for my good friend. I didn't really use a pattern for these. I just kind of went off of what I know of sock making, and they turned out pretty well. I knit them up in about a week and a half, I want to say. Maybe a day or two longer, including like a day off here or there, but they knit up really quick. It is sport weight, and I knit them on US 1.5 or what is that, 2.5 millimeter needles. But they're lovely. They're perfect for holiday gifting. So now we're getting into WIPs. My next pair of socks and my next holiday gift knit that I'm working on is this pair of socks, which is a little bit more complicated, but not too bad. This is a pattern that I've come up with. Not to say that this pattern doesn't exist in a purchasable, buyable, what is the word that I'm looking for? Purchased? I don't know. You know what I mean. I'm sure that this pattern exists if you want to buy one. I wasn't looking at anything specific. I just wanted to do an eyelet pattern that kind of had like a checkerboard, argyle-y look about it. And it's a 64 stitch cast on, so I just divided that by 8 and figured out what I needed to do. If you want to make these or use this similar pattern, I did post it into my Ravelry notes for the first, I think like 8 or 16 rows or something like that, so that you can figure out how to do it as well. What I'm really trying to say here is that I haven't used a pattern and I'm not trying to steal anybody else's pattern, but there's a good chance that in making up your own patterns sometimes that there's crossover of what somebody else has done, especially when it comes to like a pretty basic sock. I would have to scour the internet to make sure that somebody hadn't already made this type of sock with this type of heel, with this type of cuff, and all of these things. And then of course, pattern writing isn't just down to, or like being a pattern designer isn't just down to, you know, this sock and this sock look very similar. It's also, how is it written? What's the story behind it? What yarn is used? All of these things. So I'm just trying to be conscious and aware that something similar might exist, and any crossover is completely unintentional. This is out of my mind while influenced from everything I've ever seen with knitting. Hello, it's Editing Suni, another day, another moth t-shirt. So I have been looking on Ravelry trying to find a pattern that is very similar. The two that I've found are the Sari Nordland Midsummer Dancer socks, which are similar but obviously like distinctly different. And then the next one is the Wildflower, I'm looking at it here on Ravelry, the Wildflowers and Honeycomb socks by This Handmade Life. And that one's another one that's similar, but those are both like quite different considering how similar they are. Which leads me to wonder, should I write a pattern for these socks? Are you interested? It would require a little bit of test knitting, but I think that it's a fairly standard sock pattern. So I'm interested in putting that out there. If anyone is interested in knitting it, let me know. Anyway, okay, so here is my sock that I'm making. This is knit out of some yarn from Stash. So I'm feeling good about this system. I found this yarn in my stash, I put it up on my wall, and then I was ready to make a pair of socks, and I shopped right from my stash, and here it is. Okay, this is my question for anybody else who makes podcasts. Do you also just like run out of breath while you're talking because you get overexcited and there's no like social cues to get you to take a breath when you're just talking to a camera? I have to remember to pause and like take a sip of whatever I'm drinking, or just like just for a second, because I get a little excited. All right. I also have like just a pile, a spread of projects and yarn in front of me, and half of it's really exciting and half of it's like pretty anxiety inducing because I feel like there's so much to do. But that's okay. I will not be bored. Back to my socks. Here they are. These are socks that I am knitting for my mother-in-law to be for Christmas time, and I really am so pleased with how they're turning out. I wanted to do something that was a little bit more decorative with this relatively plain, simple yarn. So as I was saying, I got this out of my own stash, and I didn't know what kind of yarn this was. I knew that I'd bought it years ago at the Northeast Fiber Arts Center, which is my current local yarn store of choice. but I lost the label and I really have no way of figuring it out. Very likely a wool, because I don't really buy acrylics, but I wanted, and it doesn't feel like superwash, so I knew that it was gonna like work as a rustic classic natural sock base, but I wanted to find out for sure. So being the little detective that I am, I went to the yarn store with this ball. So I went up to the shopkeeper and I asked her, I was like, I don't know what kind of yarn this is, but I know that I bought it maybe like 5 years ago, which isn't super helpful, but maybe you know? And we looked at it, and then I was gonna go like peruse the store to see if I could find a match, and I turned around and it was like right there. So this is the Fiber Company Cumbria fingering weight, which is a merino, masham, and mohair blend. So it's like a semi-worsted fingering weight yarn, and semi-worsted in fiber texture, not in weight. But it has like very nice, oh, I don't know if you can see it. Maybe against my shirt here. You can see that it has some little like fuzzies and such from the mohair that's in it. Oh, there, you can see it a little bit better here. So it has lots of little fuzzies from the mohair, and then the wool content is giving it that like nice rustic quality, and you can see some of the hairs in the yarn that are coming through and giving it a little bit more of like a, while mostly being merino and giving it a lot of squish and softness. So I'm very pleased with how this yarn is knitting up, and it has that good like soapy kind of lanolin-y, greasy, they just feel really good. I don't know if you can hear them. I don't know how that sound came through, but they're just really nice. This is not a normal sock yarn, and they may wear through pretty quickly because there's no nylon content whatsoever, but I'm gonna say worth it. Oh, this is the Scaffold Pike colorway, we think. Granted, I bought this again like 5 years ago, so the colorway that is in store now is slightly different, but you can't expect a dye lot to be consistent from year to year to year. So pretty sure Scaffold Pike Cumbria fingering from the Fiber Company. This is where I'm at on my first sock. I'm nearby to starting my toe. I think my reference point is usually like in half, and then I start my toe so that my toe ends about where the cuff is. You can see that here. That tends to make like the perfect size sock for what I need for folks, but I do want to make sure that these ones are polished and fit really nicely because they are a gift knit. So I'm nearby to being done with the first, and then I will start on the second one right away. So what were we talking about? I think it was all under the umbrella of WIPs and things to be made and holiday projects, that kind of thing. So I'm feeling okay. I have a pair of socks done for my mom, a pair of socks done for my friend. I'm working on a pair of socks for my mother-in-law-to-be. I have a sweater for my partner, which is like half done. That's the Arches sweater, the green and gray striped sweater. I'm not worried about finishing that in time. I mean, I might be cutting it close with that one, but I do remember from when I started it, it was such a like quick project. People talk about stripes being potato chippy, and I was like, I mean, maybe. And then I was working on a striped project, and I was like, oh, those are really good. Those are really fun. I like them. They keep me going. So not worried about that project at all. And even if it's partially done, then he'll have a partially done sweater for Christmas, and that's okay. I do want to make, I'm looking at my notes, I do want to make socks for my sister-in-law-to-be, another friend, these ones, and my dad. So that's another 3 pairs of socks that have not even been started. And then I have 3 hats to make. So 3 pairs of socks, 3 hats, half a sweater are my holiday Christmas goals. Oh, I guess plus this little like strawberry pouch, but that's not gonna be a big project. Like that will probably be done in a day. So all of these things seem doable in my mind at the moment. But then I'm trying to add in finishing my heirloom quilt cardigan, finishing at least one of my summer tops. I think that the outline tee is just off the table for right now, but that's okay. I think I've met my saturation point, or like my interest level on it this year, but that doesn't mean that next spring I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, summer knits, and pick right back up where I left off and then feel really good about it and finish it next year. I'm not frogging the project for that reason, because I think that it's going to come together just fine, especially because I'm like halfway done already. But I do want to be really aware of how much time I have between now and holidays to get everything done that I'm thinking I can get done. I will say that one of those pairs of socks I can take off the menu if I need to, and do these as a January birthday instead of a holiday, because that might buy me some time. I've also done the thing before where I gift one sock. I think one year I gave each of my parents 1 sock each of their pair, and then a coupon for the second sock for me to finish after the holidays, and I have no issue doing that either. In fact, it's kind of like the double gift, I think, and I hope everyone appreciates it as such. So there's a lot to get through, but it's okay. Stressing myself out a little bit, but also really excited. The other thing that I kind of have as like backup here or there is that I have finished, and I actually forget if I've shared these as a finished object or not already on the podcast. So if not, whoops. And if I have, also whoops. But these are my finished seedling socks, which were a test knit for Knit Not Sew. Just a really quick recap, because I might have gone over all of this before. This is the Queensland Collection Kathmandu in the fingering weight in the colorway Celadon, which is a, ooh, I forget now. It's a whole blend of stuff, but it's like a little tweed yarn. And then this is the Euro brand yarns Tenderfoot in the colorway Dark Oak, and it features this just like, how do I show it nicely? Yeah, the coloring is so much better in person. I'll throw a photo up. But these socks I finished about a month ago for the test knit, and they turned out lovely, but I haven't actually worn them yet, and I may end up giving these as some sort of a Christmas thing. I could even undo my toe and extend them and make these dad socks, because I think he would really like them. But I don't know if they're tall enough for him, and he is regularly telling me that I need to make my socks taller for him because he doesn't like them being shorty socks, which is the opposite of how I like my socks, which is like maybe a cuff that's that tall, or like a leg that's that tall. So I don't know. I have these. I haven't worn them. I kind of want to gift them, but then I feel bad that I didn't knit them with someone in mind. I don't know. That's just silly stuff that goes on in my mind. Anyway, socks. This might be a good moment to share that one of my chief love languages is gift giving in the like, how do I give love kind of way. I do really enjoy giving handmade gifts at the holidays. I occasionally will do a purchased gift, but I think that by and large, everyone has what they need in my life, and what I can do is provide something handmade and special in that way. So it's really important to me to make stuff for the holidays, but I want to have enough time to do it and all of these things. One big piece of all of this is that I actually more or less have November off from work. It's not completely true because I still have online orders and wholesale and I'm getting ready for the holiday season, but I'm not doing farmers markets or holiday markets really for the month of November. So I go from fairly high intensity workload in the summertime through October, because of, that's when the farmers market season ends, is October. But it immediately drops off for the last like 2 weeks of October into November, and I have a lot of time to spend knitting. With that in mind, I'm feeling like it's not going to be unrealistic for me to crank through 3 pairs of socks in November and then hats in December, especially thinking back to last year. I think I did weekend hats like in a weekend. So let's move along to my next WIP, which is one that I'm feeling like if I don't get it done, it won't get done this year. So I've been working on it steadily, and that is my Darjeeling top, but I'm still a ways away from being finished with it. And I am once again in between rows, or like in the middle of a row, so I can't really even show it to you very well. Put the basket here. Oops. All right, so this is my Darjeeling top by Trust the Mojo. So here's where it splits. How much progress have I made since we last looked at this together? A good bit. I am now past the 3rd buttonhole of 5. So where is it? Here's the 1st buttonhole, here's the 2nd buttonhole, and here is the 3rd. So I've just done the 3rd, and I'm feeling good about that. I'm feeling like the buttonholes are my markers for how far I'm getting on this. I do like this project. I like the yarn, I like the gauge, but it is working flat back and forth, and I just only have so much enjoyment for that type of a project that isn't in keeping me engaged with like cables or something like that. So it's going slowly, and the way that I am managing to work on this is that at night, if I'm watching a show on my iPad or something in bed, this is a really nice project to have with me. It's slightly big and drapey for what it is, and I'm finding that it's hard to bring with me as like a to-go project. So having it in my lap in bed is great. And I think that that's also something that's been keeping me from working on my heirloom quilt cardigan, is that right now it's a huge wool blanket and it's a billion degrees. And I just cannot have that sitting on my lap or traveling with me. So as soon as it gets colder, or as soon as I'm feeling more comfortable, I'll probably get back to that project, and then this is a good lap project until then. I've talked a few times about like how many projects I like to have going at a time, what I like to have to work on, and I think that what I'm coming to realize is that I'm a fairly monogamous knitter in the sense that I may have multiple WIPs going at once, and some things might be like hibernating versus what's active, but I can really only actively be working on 1 or 2 at a time. Otherwise, I'm just pretty overwhelmed, and I like one project to be an at-home lap project and one project to be a more like on-the-go kind of thing. So socks are a very obvious choice for me as far as an on-the-go project. I do have motivation to get this project done, but I think that it might be super unrealistic to expect that it will be done before the warm weather ends this year, which means that it might sit over the winter and I might pick it back up again in the spring, just like with my outline tee. And I'm okay with this. I think that what I'm realizing is I don't really like summer knit projects. I might have said this at the beginning, but something about the gauge and the fibers, I would rather be knitting socks. I would rather be knitting wool socks in the summer as a small project than a big project like this. Or this isn't even big, this is a tank top, but it feels much bigger than a pair of socks. Hello, it's Editing Suni again. So I'm just gonna cut this really short because I basically have my own little therapy session for the next 20 minutes when I originally recorded this, talking about how I'm feeling about summer knits, and ultimately what I landed on is it's okay if I want to put them aside until next year. I rambled on about it for a really long time, and then I was like, you know what? It's okay. I think that I was generally like processing a few things at once. One is just the guilt of starting a project and not finishing it. And that's some stuff we gotta unpack in real therapy, and we're working on it, but that's okay. I don't want that type of anxiety that I have in my life to integrate into my knitting hobby, because that is what I do for joy and relaxation. So I'm just letting that one go. It's okay if I don't finish a project. It's fine. But that said, I do think that I will finish my summer knit projects. They are good projects. They're good yarn. I like them. I'm just not excited about them right now, especially as we're hitting the end of summer. So my whole plan is that I'm going to put them aside and come back to them probably next spring, when I get that like another rush of, oh my God, summer projects, which I totally got influenced by this year. Early spring, I was like, oh my God, summer projects, people do these. And I was like new to watching and being a part of podcasts. So it was like, I just got caught up in it. And I didn't think about like, hey, Suni, what do you actually like knitting? And that's sweaters and socks and fingerless mittens and like sometimes hats. So that's where it stands. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be setting aside my outline tee and Darjeeling top until next summer. In lieu of everything else that I have to get done, I feel like before October and then before the holidays, I have a substantial to-do list, and I'm in the mindset to start working on them. So I'm just going to give myself permission to put them aside and come back to them next year. And because if you've been here for a little while, you know I'm a little bit flaky. There's a really good chance I'll keep working on them, and I'll update if I do. But I really want my priorities right now to be the socks that I'm knitting for Christmas time as my to-go projects, and then my sweaters so that they're done in time for Rhinebeck and Vermont Sheep and Wool. Okay, back to me. I am so off topic now that I think we need to just set this aside and talk about spinning. So, spinning. I have been working with this fun colored Corriedale for a few weeks, spinning it up with my hand spindle, and it's done. Woo! So this is not perfect, but it is pretty good. This is pretty good. I'm really happy with it for my second hand spinning experience. I think it's great. I think it's mostly within the worsted weight, Aran weight category, which makes it pretty usable for a project with a little bit of puffy bits and a little bit of thin bits. You know, maybe this would be more of an art yarn than or like super consistent machined yarn, but it's my second hand spun. So that's exactly what it is. This was really fun to spin up. I really liked the colors. They're very unicorny. And the way that they sort of barber pole in different configurations. You know, we have like the dark blue with the light pink, and the light pink with the purple, and the purple with the blue, and the light blue with the purples, and you know, all these things. So really happy with how this turned out. It's not a huge amount, but it's enough to make something, and I think that my yarn is consistent enough that I can actually make something out of it. I don't know exactly what will be made out of it, but my partner did suggest that I knit him like a headband with it for the winter for skiing. So I think that that's the perfect use of this yarn. because he will recognize and appreciate that I not only knit him something, but I spun the yarn. It's the right amount for it, and I don't think it's gonna matter too much if there's like some wonky bits because of my inconsistent weights. Oh, and just for context, I wanted to show again, this is my first hand spun, which is, ooh, not really showing up very well. Can I move this light? That did not. Here it is. So we have pieces that are like this, and then we have chunks that are, where is it? Where's the really big one? Like that. So I think that, needless to say, I've gotten better. And then, if you remember from the acquisitions portion, I had gotten some new spinning fiber. This is all merino, and I was definitely inspired by the colors, and very much from this Sorella yarn that I got as well. Hi, Luce. We are coming up on dinner time, so she's going to get a little bit pesky here, and I'm gonna need to make this quick. But this is my new spinning fiber. This is merino, which I have not used before. I've only used Corriedale here and here. So it's actually spinning up pretty well. So here is what I have so far. I'm trying to get it to focus, but I don't think it's going to. But this is what I have spun up so far. This was just a few minutes yesterday. I have not gotten very far, but I think what you can see is that it is all a fairly consistent weight here. Oh, you can see it usually pretty well against my arm. There are the little tiny thicks and thins, but for the most part, I am spinning and trying to spin between a lace and a fingering weight. I think I do tend to go a little thin here or there, like right here got a little bit thin, and I'd prefer that I was spinning, can you see the difference there? Yeah, this is a little bit thin, and I think this is what I'm trying to spin at. But just like my first and second and third, this is my third hand spun, and it's gonna look like my third hand spun. I think this fiber is just beautiful though. If I were to name this colorway, I think it would be called Dreamy or something like that, or like Dawn Dream, Dreamy Fog, something in that realm. It just has this really beautiful sheen to it, and the colors are very light and subtle, and the contrast is very low. I'm really excited about working on this, but I'm not working super fast at it. I think spinning for me is becoming my little like 15-minute work break activity. I think I said this in an episode past, but maybe I'm doing emails for a few hours or drawing, and I just need to like stand up and still be in my space and be able to think, but also get into a break or meditative mindset so that I can go back and keep working more refreshed. And spinning is perfect for this. I love it, and I keep it like right here. So it is easy to grab and stand up, spin a little bit. I usually pull off like a few tufts, spin those up, and yeah. The difference of merino and Corriedale, this is definitely like silkier. It doesn't have as much like crimping Velcro stickiness, but it is still sticking together well enough. I think that when I tried to spin with Icelandic straight out of Corriedale, I was having a really hard time, but the Corriedale to merino transition has been much easier for me, and my first little bit of it has indicated that I think it's going well, and I'm just going to keep at it. Oh, I will say my plying process for this was a nightmare, and it was totally just because I messed up. But I took all of the single ply off the spindle and wound it up and then from the ball that I made, I tried to do like a double end ball to ply or twine together, and it got so tangled. It was a hot mess, and I think that I almost like cried and gave up halfway through, and I just had to be like, it's fine, it's fine. So there's a chance that this would have been tidier in certain spots, but it might also have been that I underplied or like didn't put enough twist into my single ply, and so it got loose or something. I don't really know. But because of my experience with this, plying it, I think that when I take this off the spindle, I'll probably wind it into 2 separate balls and then ply those together instead of trying to use one ball to ply from. Maybe folks who spin can leave a comment or a suggestion about maybe if you have a suspicion of why that happened with this one or how to avoid it with this. That would be ideal, because I definitely don't want to go through that again. I have a little bit of art news to share, and that is mostly that I have been working on a new patch design, and it is this very cute little sheep. I love her. I especially like her little face so much. So a quick note with this is that this is a block print, so I carved, actually I can show you. Ta-da! This is a linoleum stamp that I carved. So I drew out the design and then I used a tool like this. You can see it has a little, let me show you, it has a little V-shaped blade on it, and you use this to carve away the material of the linoleum and leave behind the design that you want to print. This is just block printing, so I had such a good time on this yesterday. She turned out very cute. However, when I went to the store to pick up fabric block printing ink, I accidentally got silk screen ink, which is different. The silk screening ink is a little bit like more oily or like liquidy, whereas the block printing ink has a lot more tack to it. And what that resulted in is, see this like double line right here? That should all just be one crisp line. For example, when I printed with like an ink pad onto paper, here's how crisp she is versus this one. Not bad, but not what I was going for. So I have a pile of these patches that I'm gonna call seconds, and I'm gonna make them available on my website and also at farmers markets for you to sew onto your own jacket or tote bag or project bag or whatever it is. Here's the whole pile of them actually. So this one turned out really light, and you can see that the screen printing ink just didn't give the opacity that I wanted it to. Here's this one. But yeah, these will all be available as seconds on my website. I probably won't have them uploaded in time for this episode coming out, but I do want you to be aware of them, that probably by the next. Here's one. So the idea with these patches was that I was going to sew them onto hats. This is something I've done before with my patches, in particular a bat patch, which I'll add a photo of here. These were my bat hats that I made about 2 years ago. Loved them, really fun, but I wanted to do a new design this year, and I've been so into my knitting community and hobby that it just has to be a little sheepy this year. So I have 18 of these hats that I will be sewing patches onto once I reprint these with the proper ink. These ones, to be clear, will be seconds available just like this on their own, and then I will reprint hats. But I wanted to give you a little bit of a teaser for them, and I am trying to have these done as soon as possible so that if you want to order one, it will be available to you and like shipped to you with plenty of time for all of the festivals coming up, because festival season, don't you want a little sheep hat? I have a few colors of hats. I have this green, which obviously I love, And then there's a black, sort of a raspberry color, a navy blue, a brown, and a gray, I want to say. Maybe even a light blue. But I have a few hats, 18 of them. It's a very limited run. I may or may not restock, but I would say if you are interested in a hat like this, but in this style, as the bat hats with like the stitching on them, definitely keep your eye out. I will be posting about this in the podcast and then also online as best as I can. So be on the lookout. Patch hats and blank, unsewn patch seconds are coming. It's editing Suni again from another day. So just really quick clarification, because I keep saying like, be on the lookout for patches, which is very vague and not helpful for people who might want to like get them when they drop. I'm not going to release them before my next episode. And when I do release my next podcast episode, I'll say like, it'll be available Saturday at noon or something like that. So there will be a distinct time and place posted on my Instagram and in my next podcast so that you have time to be like, okay, this is when and where. Let's see, what else for art news? This week I did put out 2 new garlands. So I have the moon quilt garland and then the seasonal celebrations garland. That one's sort of a like extension of the spring, summer, autumn, winter. And then I'm going to be doing some stickers of a few of those as well. And then the moon quilt is just the moon phases in the context of a patchwork quilt. I wish I had them with me to show you, but they have actually been selling out at every farmer's market that I go to, so I need to make more in order for them to be ready. But they are online right now on my website. It's mothfolkstudio.com, and then if you use the code MOTHPOD, you get a discount at checkout. And that's the same with my new t-shirts as well, which I did share in my last episodes. But here I am wearing the dark green option with the gold printing. And then here are my boxes of many t-shirts, hopefully that you will order and I can send to you with a cute little note. It's been good. It's been really exciting to be making new things. I think that I've been a little bit disconnected from my creative self. And I want to do more things to create routine in my business and for myself so that I'm dedicating more time to being creative. I think that yesterday I was, sitting here carving my little stamp and feeling like I should have been sending emails, or I just sort of had this moment of like, oh, am I doing something wrong by like spending my time creatively? And then I thought about it and I was like, no, this is so cool. This is the gift. This is the thing that I'm doing. This is what it is to be an artist sometimes, is that you get to have your job be the creative thing. And it's reminding me of the sticker again that I got, which I have not actually used as a sticker, but it says Serious Artist, and it lives right on my desk where I see it all the time, and it catches the light, and every time I'm catching myself thinking like, is this what I should be doing? Whether it's taking a 10-minute break to do some spinning, or lots of emails and spreadsheets, or, making a new thing to promote and create and, be a new product. I look at it and I remind myself like, yes, this is what I should be doing. And that's pretty cool. Thank you so much to everybody who is a part of that. Anyone here watching the podcast, or if you place an order, you come visit me at a farmer's market, you like a post, anything, it is all incredibly supportive and it means a lot, and it's keeping me doing what I'm doing, and it's amazing. So thank you. The last little bit of art news is that I am considering starting a print of the month club. So this is something that I would do on my own, where as a subscriber to this print of the month club, or moth mail as I'm calling it, so you would pay an annual subscription for either 12 months or bi-monthly or quarterly, and then I send you a 5x7 piece of art with you know, maybe some other little goodies here or there. And I think that it's a fun idea. I did do a Patreon for a number of years, and Patreon. On one hand, it was incredible and I felt so supported by the little community that there was. But because of the way that Patreon is structured, the truth is I ended up spending way more than I got in returns, especially when it came to shipping. And I don't think that I went into it with a really clear sense of my own boundaries and parameters. So some months I would be sending a huge amount of art to make up for, like, maybe one month I would send a sticker. And that didn't, I always felt like I wasn't doing what I needed to do for my patrons and being really, like, honorable. I ultimately just felt like I was letting everybody down with Patreon. And that was totally because I didn't set my own boundaries or expectations of myself. And then I assumed that everybody else had expectations of me that they may or may not have had. And it really stressed me out. It really, really stressed me out. And also shipping was incredibly expensive. So I did really like the idea of a monthly thing that kept me engaged in being creative and doing something new each month for a small portion of people. And some of the works that I created for my Patreon community then became pieces that I used in my, like, catalog of work. So it was kind of like a nice way to feel like I was working on something that was going to be distributed while being smaller batch to test it out and then bring it, you know, to market, kind of thing. It's kind of like an R&D experience, but there's also something within that where, again, I felt like sometimes it was a miss, sometimes it was a hit. And all of that is to say that with my new idea of Moth Mail being a monthly or bi-monthly subscription service, is that I have sort of like a theme in mind for the year. So it would start and run January through December of each year, and sort of have a theme for the year so that there's some parameters. It's one 5x7 print, and then maybe I send some stickers or something here or there to, like, complement whatever I'm sending. But that's my idea. That's where I'm at with it. Maybe drop a comment if you like this idea, if it's something that you would be willing to consider subscribing to. I'm thinking that the price point for these would end up being about, like, $16 a month. So a 5x7 print for, like, $15, and then another $1 or $2 for any sort of, like, postage, because I would be sending these as envelope, like a letter. I can't send them as packages for everybody. It is not realistic. However, it is something that I still want to be able to provide and figure out. So I think my original idea for cost points was going to be monthly. So you get 12 prints, January through December, you know, one per month, at about $190, which is $15 or $16 per print. And then bi-monthly, every other month, is about $100, and then quarterly is every 3 months. So last time I did this, it was the spring and fall equinox, then the winter and summer solstice. That one went for like $75. So let me know what you think about that. If you think that the pricing is right, if it's too high, if it's too low, if this is something you're interested in. Should I continue spending time developing this? Let me know. Everything that I have so far, excluding the patches, is up to date on my website. Again, it's Moth Folk Studio. Use the code MOTHPOD at checkout and you get a little bit of a discount for watching the podcast. Thank you. As far as other news goes, I had announced last episode that I've gotten engaged, which is still a thing, and really happy about it, but definitely a little bit burnt out over the initial, like, wedding planning stages. Right now it's looking like I might be making my wedding dress. I'll actually show you. This is not completely set in stone, but I'm thinking that this is going to be the dress that I make. This is from a designer, Allie Boys, and this is the Cosette dress. I think it's really cute and sweet and simple, but I'm thinking about making it in like a raw silk. So what's interesting about this designer is that you can buy the dress made, or you can buy the pattern to make it yourself. I'm considering buying the pre-made to see how it fits, and maybe it fits great and I don't need to make my own. But this is the fabric swatch sample from her of what the pre-made dress is. So it's a natural undyed raw linen. My hesitation with this is that I'm wondering if this is too warm toned for me, whereas I tend to be better suited for something that's like quite cool toned. So I mean, this is just like plain white, and granted this is not the best lighting to be doing this. Maybe we'll put it on this side. So here's just like a plain white, and then here's the warmer tone. I don't know, maybe this is a minimal difference. Oh, hi Luce. But yeah, I do think that cooler tones tend to look a little bit better on me, especially because I get very like pink. And if I'm put in something that's a little bit too yellowy, I immediately look like a newborn purple baby. And it's not flattering for me. So that's sort of why I'm thinking that I need to make this for myself so that I can get the right color white. This is a great time to be asking the question, wait, Suni, do you sew? I've never heard you talk about sewing other than that one project bag that you made, and you said you don't like sewing. Great point. I don't sew. This project is potentially really ambitious for me. I don't know. I also sort of have this idea of like, how hard can it be? I'll just wing it. And maybe that's fine for a sundress that I wear casually to a picnic. But this is my wedding dress and I do want it to like look good. So who knows what I'm getting myself into. I figure the worst thing that could happen is that I try it and it doesn't work, and then I go to option C, because actually option A was a dress that I was pretty excited about and I ordered it, and it turns out that it was like butter yellow white, like really yellow creamy, and it looked really not good on me. So I sent that back, and this is my next option, but I'm pretty excited about it. I'm optimistic. I'm sure that I'll be giving you some sewing content if I follow through on that. But also, I can see myself like hating that I've made this decision come April if I'm in crunch time and I haven't gotten it done and I'm messing up seams. Who knows? Or maybe it'll go great. So wishing myself luck. Let's see, what else do we have? The last thing that's going on is that I finally finished my book. I was reading Her Heart for a Compass by Sarah Ferguson. I liked it for what it was, and what it was for me was a bedtime book, so I needed something that was a little bit boring, nothing bad happened, it was kind of sweet and simple, and it was just engaging enough that I wanted to read every night, but also just boring enough that I fell asleep every time, which was perfect. That's what I wanted out of a bedtime book. So I finished that, which means I now don't have a book to read. Any suggestions, welcome. I went to Barnes & Noble to wander around and try to find my next option. And I think I run into the same issue as like wine shopping, which is just that I pick up books based off of the cover. I totally judge a book by its cover. I think I get really quickly overwhelmed because I pick up a book that like, sure, the cover looks cool, and then I start reading the description. I'm like, what? I don't want to read that. And then I try to pick up another book and it's just overwhelming. It turns out that there are a lot of books. A lot of people write books and a lot of them end up on shelves, and then I have to read all of these descriptions and decide what I like before I've even known it. Picking books is so stressful for me. So any suggestions welcome. I do like a little bit of a like a gentle romancy element is fun. But I've discovered that I don't really like a lot of the romantasy trends, especially like in enemies to lovers. I'm out. I went through a little bit of an experience this spring where I was trying to find like my next book to read, and I got onto this like book talk page or something like that, and they were all these books that like sounded kind of fun and exciting, and then I started reading them and I was like, this guy's a bully. Like, I don't want this for her, and I don't really like her at all. So I had a hard time with a lot of those books, in particular like the Astrology Academy or the Zodiac Academy. I really wanted to like those books because there are so many of them and I like astrology, and I was reading them and I was just like, these guys are just straight up bullies. Like, this isn't okay. So no shade on you if you like those books. I recognize that they definitely scratch a certain itch for people, but I'm just sharing that I don't want recommendations in that realm. Yeah, something like nicer. Okay, that's my plea for help with books. I've talked about the dress, talked about spinning and WIPs, and I've gone on for way too long about finishing summer knit projects and my guilt around them, and we talked about the new little sheep patches, and I think that's all I have for you today. This feels like a really long episode. Actually, I'm looking at my recording timestamp and I'm at like 2 hours, so hopefully we're going to edit that down. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I've had fun going through all of my projects. I do feel a little bit like I have a plan. I feel a little bit lighter when it comes to thinking about what I can and can't get done, projects that I'm excited for, projects that I'm not so excited for. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thanks for giving me a place to talk about all of this and create a little bit of knitting community. And I really hope that you join me next time. Hopefully in 2 weeks, but we'll see if I'm still on my 3-week schedule and doing super long episodes next time. All right, have a wonderful time with all of your crafting, creating, artsy stuff, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for being here.